she cook. I'll tell you. Right from here in Memphis, Tennessee. Go on, girl. I love that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our MCs, Merle Purvis, news anchor at WHBQ Fox 13, and Joe Birch, news anchor at WMC-TV Action News 5.
Wow, good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, let's first of all give a huge round of applause to the fantastic Gary Goen Band. At last, this year is a special time for Memphis. We're already celebrating our city's 200th birthday, and I am so excited to join Joe and each one of you in celebrating the 40th anniversary of Leadership Memphis.
I'm thrilled to be back with my former co-anchor, Merle Purvis, and Merle and I, as news anchors, get to meet a lot of interesting people every day and bring you stories that define life in our city, our nation, and our world. And our task is to bring information about issues, events, challenges, and opportunities. And in the process, we learn about people who've stepped outside their comfort zones to help grow and transform communities.
Olympic champion Wilma Rudolph once said, "Never underestimate the power of dreams and the influence of the human spirit." Today, we will meet a diverse group of leaders who've used the power of human spirit to inspire and empower others. In doing so, these champions of change have made a remarkable impression upon our city.
And speaking of leaders, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to find your seat and please take it. And we are going to welcome now, and we are delighted to do so, presenting to you the dynamic co-chairs of the Leadership Memphis 40th anniversary. Please welcome attorney Julie Ellis, senior counsel at Butler Snow LLP, and Shannon Brown, senior vice president of Air, Ground, and Freight Services and chief diversity officer at FedEx Express.
Thank you so much, Merle and Joe. Today, we're here to celebrate the very, very best of Memphis. And it is indeed an honor to join Shannon Brown as my co-chair of this 40th anniversary celebration of Leadership Memphis. We'd like to begin by welcoming the mayor of Shelby County, Lee Harris, and we're not really sure he's gotten checked in quite yet, but if the mayor is here, can we ask him to stand? In any case, let's thank the mayor of Shelby County, Lee Harris. And please tell him we did so. We'd also like to recognize and ask the other elected officials who are in the room to stand and be recognized. And let's thank them. We all know that without good governance, we really don't have a good future, so we thank them all for their service. It's been said that good leaders are trailblazers, making a path for others to follow. However, great leaders inspire people to reach higher, dream bigger, and achieve even greater results. If you inspire people to reach for the stars, they might just bring you the moon. And the men and women who founded Leadership Memphis 40 years ago were visionary leaders who brought the moon to our city. Despite their own hectic schedules, they took their time to conduct research studies, to look at the challenges and the opportunities of our city, to recruit other leaders and movers and shakers, and show us what a truly beloved community looks like when we all work together. As a result of these founders' ingenuity and unwavering commitment to progress, Leadership Memphis was born, and we owe each of these extraordinary leaders an incredible debt of gratitude. Over 4 decades, Leadership Memphis graduates have continued to touch thousands of lives across our city. Shannon and I are very, very proud to be 2 of those graduates. We have forged partnerships in such areas as education, law, medicine, government, business, the arts, culture, sports, and the nonprofit sector. And they have been made by Leadership Memphis alumni, bringing advancements and investors to our city. Today, we proudly honor those leaders who founded Leadership Memphis, and we also thank the many leaders who are continuing to make an impact in our communities. Thank you all for being a part of this amazing and historic celebration. Shannon?
Julie, thank you very much, and good afternoon. I'm absolutely positively delighted to serve with Julie as the co-chair of this exciting 40-year celebration of Leadership Memphis. And on behalf of the 450,000 FedEx team members around the world, it's truly a privilege to sponsor this special program that has helped to mold and shape our city leaders. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 20 years since I went through the Leadership Memphis program. And even though I'm a native of Memphis, my Leadership Memphis experiences were truly an eye-opener. In fact, many of the connections and opportunities that came my way was because of the strength of Leadership Memphis. Leadership Memphis has been helpful to my career and work in this community. The strength of this program is diversity and the understanding that every person has a unique role to play in the progress of our city. As a longtime member of the FedEx team, I'm especially proud that Fred Smith was one of the Leadership Memphis founders who saw that 20th century challenges could become 21st century opportunities. And I extend my deepest thanks to all of the founders and champions of this great organization. It has been said that Memphis is in a very lucky position on the map. Think about it. We got the river, the rails, the roads, the runway, rhythm and rock and roll. Over the course of my career, I've lived in 11 cities and traveled to every continent on the map. But as Dorothy says in The Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. I can go to Paris, Sydney, Hong Kong, and Madrid, but I'm always happy and proud to call Memphis home. So Julie and I are pleased to welcome each of you to this exciting 40th anniversary. And at this time, please turn your attention to the screen for a brief video of the history of Leadership Memphis.
Throughout its history, the city of Memphis has been given many names: the Bluff City, home of the blues, birthplace of rock and roll, barbecue capital of the world, and the list goes on. However, the original meaning of Memphis is a place of good abode. Its name is a reminder that the heart and very soul of the city rests with its people, and success must always be a work in progress. Following the Memphis sanitation strike and assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968, The city's image took a terrible blow in the eyes of the nation and world. But a bold and determined group of citizens stood up, spoke up, and stepped up with vision and determination, believing there could be a bright new morning for Memphis. They became architects of a movement focused on leadership. They wanted Memphis to be that true place of good abode for all citizens. Education, economic development, poverty, justice and equality, community involvement, and improved race relations helped form the platform for discussions around this ambitious movement. The vision took flight in 1977 when prominent Memphis attorney Lucius Birch Jr. identified key challenges facing the city. He saw that Atlanta and Nashville were making progress by developing their community leaders and believed a similar effort could work well in Memphis. Birch then called upon Junior League President Kate Gooch for support. For several months, Birch and Gooch invited leaders to discussion sessions and listened to their ideas. Attorney Lewis Donaldson later joined the effort and agreed to head a task force to study and plan a new nonprofit organization. In the spring of 1978, Birch, Donaldson, and Gooch sent a letter to 800 business and community leaders to survey their interest in a leadership development program. The letter stated a clear goal: to provide future community leaders with information, skills, and techniques to become effective leaders. Of the 124 responses, more than half were willing to participate and 45% agreed to provide financial support. The original name was the Memphis Institute of Public Responsibility, but it was later changed to Leadership Memphis. The founders then named their first board of trustees. Lucius Birch was chairman, Lewis Donaldson was vice chairman, and D. Army Bailey was secretary-treasurer. Board members were Gwen Awesome, Edgar Bailey, Jack Belts, Clarence Day, Myra Dreyfus, Willie W. Harrington, J.R. Pitthyde, Jane Jones, Dr. Fred Lofton, C.R. Mason, Frederick W. Smith, and Sonia Walker.
Well, Leadership Memphis is part of really a national movement of leadership groups. At the time we were doing this, at Kate Gooch's leadership and vision, and they were starting these groups, seeding these all around the country. And so she brought this to very vocal and influential voices in this community, people who would fund it, and their corporations and businesses, and give it their blessings. And she was saying, well, we need people to be trained, and we need people to know each other. We can't have leadership in these isolated pockets of people, all with their agendas and their slogans and their efforts. We need a united front of those who speak for many. So I actually went to a conference during the Reagan administration when there was a lot of conversations about leadership groups and training leaders and the interfacing of private and public sector. That seemed so strange and so fresh at the time. So I really think for all the missteps that Junior League may have met with their discriminatory practices, all that kind of stuff, this was one of their greatest gifts to our city. They moved forward and fostered that, and people like Kate Gooch and Lucia Gilliland, Perry Magnus, when that class of Junior League women, they gave voice and support to a Leadership Memphis class.
Kate Gooch became the organization's first executive director, and the initial headquarters was at Ernst & Young. In 1979, 42 Memphians representing various backgrounds, professions, interests, and ideas formed the first Leadership Memphis class.
I'll never forget the early days because Lucius Birch, who was a longtime friend of mine, he calls me and says, you know, you've got to be on this new organization I'm setting up, blah, 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 blah. And of course, I felt like I couldn't turn Lucius down. So he wants me to be on the board. So I say, okay, I'll I'll attend the board. So I go to my first board meeting, and at the meeting, he appoints me chairman. He resigns from the chairmanship and the board. He left me sitting there as chairman on my first meeting, you know? And so it's like, okay, this wasn't exactly what I signed on for. That was the beginning of my involvement. Organization was very needed in our community. It's critical to any city, and particularly in Memphis. It's a great way to try to identify and nurture leadership for the future as well as in the present. So yes, I think it serves a critical role.
Through the years, members of every Leadership Memphis class have enhanced their civic and community awareness by listening to Memphis's movers and shakers talk about our strengths and challenges, expanding the comfort zones through unique experiences, participating in service projects to help others, and focusing on a shared vision for Memphis. Along with Kate Gooch, other Leadership Memphis executive directors have included Ann Knox, Ann Dillard, Marion Brown, Ann Lewin Benham, Pan Awesome, and President CEO David Williams. Today, Leadership Memphis continues its mission of preparing and mobilizing leaders to work together for the good of the whole community. The organization has graduated more than 3,500 community leaders and continues to be a groundbreaking innovator with its programs and initiatives. These include an executive program for influencers, decision makers, and connectors, and the Fast Track program for emerging high potential leaders. It has included the grassroots program for frontline neighborhood leaders and the criminal juvenile justice program for leaders committed to social justice. It is vested in Volunteer Memphis, an action initiative that increases volunteerism through events like MLK Days of Service, and spent 10 years committed to Graduate Memphis, an action initiative that increased certificates and degrees, resulting in a stronger workforce. Everything Leadership Memphis has done, is doing, and will ever do is designed to advance diversity and inclusion, increase innovation and collaboration, and promote civic engagement that truly makes a difference. An endowment program wisely created 20 years ago to sustain the organization now exceeds $1 million. And Leadership Memphis recently created the Founders Fund, an innovation fund to further elevate the organization's programs and action agenda for years to come. Leadership Memphis hosts signature events each year to raise the social consciousness while strengthening connections between alumni, sponsors, community partners, and other business and community leaders. The two largest events are the Leadership Awards Luncheon and the Multicultural Breakfast. Moving forward, the organization is committed to molding and shaping a diverse new generation of leaders. Leaders who stand proudly on the shoulders of founders who invested in the future of our city. Leaders who are innovative, energized, and willing to do their part to ensure that Memphis remains a place of good abode. We owe a debt of gratitude to the founders and initial supporters, decades of board members, class participants, alumni, sponsors, and donors who've continued to invest in civic leadership. We proudly salute Leadership Memphis and all supporters for 40 years of outstanding and dedicated service to the Memphis community.
We extend special thanks to the Leadership Memphis founders, and we wish the organization continued success.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Merle Purvis and Joe Birch.
Let's give another round of applause, please, to the 40th anniversary co-chairs, Julie Ellis and Shannon Brown. At this time, we will have the invocation. by the beloved Dr. Alvin O'Neill Jackson, chairman of the National Clergy Leadership Team of the National Civil Rights Museum, president of the Jackson Initiative LLC, and former pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church.
Let us pray. Gracious, loving Creator God, we give thanks for this day. It is truly a day you've made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. We give thanks for Leadership Memphis and 40 years of preparing and mobilizing leaders in this city. We give thanks for the thousands who have participated in Leadership Memphis over the years, for companies and congregations, for temple and mosque, for founders, financial supporters and staff, and board members and presenters and panelists, and for 40 change makers who have dared to make a difference in this city, and more who have dared to make the city of Memphis a different city. And we pray now for new and emerging leaders. We pray that they would have good and passionate hearts, and that their vision would be big and bold, beautiful and bodacious. We pray that their vision would exceed their reach, and their reach would be beyond their grasp. We pray for them and all of us this day, that, dear God, you would bless us in the words of another change maker from another day and time, with a restless discomfort about easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we may live deeply within our hearts. That you would bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that we may work for justice, freedom, and peace. That you would bless us with the gift of tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war. And dear God, that you would bless us with enough foolishness to believe that we can make a difference and build a different world and do what others claim cannot be done. This is our prayer in your holy name. And all of God's people said, Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. I think he just prayed that we become holy fools. Well, amen to that. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We now invite you to enjoy your lunch, which is already there on the table, to ensure that we move the program along efficiently. Also, we know that Memphis wouldn't be Memphis without good food and good music. So, ladies and gentlemen, for your listening pleasure once again, please enjoy the awesome sounds of the Gary Goin Band.
Put my feet on the ground. Want you to take me to the river, baby, and wash me down, yeah. I want you to feel my soul, baby. Put my feet on the ground. Love me, hold me, squeeze me till I can't. Take me to the river, oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Merle Purvis and Joe Birch.
Wow. Let's hear it again for Gary Goin Band. The phenomenal founders of Leadership Memphis were dedicated men and women who shared a bright vision for our city, believing that Memphis could become that city on a hill. They became architects of a movement that was focused on leadership and inclusion. Together, these 16 leaders launched one of the most successful leadership initiatives in the history of Memphis. We are extremely proud to honor them today. The award being presented today was designed by Ben Butler. It is a unique abstract wooden sculpture. You've never seen anything like it. It was built from alternating levels of wood. The design is derived from the Leadership Memphis logo, and it is repeated and stacked 40 times around in honor of this journey. Presenting the awards to the founders are Leadership Memphis Board Chairman Terry Lynch and Chairman-elect Reginald Porter Jr.
And now we will recognize the living Leadership Memphis founders who built a bridge over some troubled waters. When your name is called, please stand at your seat and your award will be presented to you there. The first award being presented this afternoon is to Pitt Hyde III, founder and trustee of the Hyde Family Foundation. The next recipient is Frederick W. Smith, founder, chairman, CEO of Federal Express. He is represented by his son, Richard Smith. We will now honor Jack Bells, founder and chairman of Bells Enterprises.
The Reverend Sonia Walker, Associate Pastor of First Congregational Church. We will now honor Kate Gooch, Founding Executive Director of Leadership Memphis. Dr. W.W. Harrington, former mayor of the city of Memphis, who was unable to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen,
before we go on with the awards, we want to note the presence of our current mayors, Jim Strickland and Lee. Where are you? Stand up, please. Lee Harris. Yes, of course, Lee Harris. We're also paying tribute to 10 Leadership Memphis founders who are no longer with us, but their powerful legacies remain a part of our history. Will the family members of these distinguished founders please stand as they are recognized posthumously? Gwen Awesome, represented by her daughter-in-law, Pan Awesome. Dr. Fred Lofton, represented by his wife, Ida Payne Lofton. D. Army Bailey, represented by his wife, Adrian Bailey. Edgar Bailey, represented by his son, Kirk Bailey. And Lucius E. Birch, Jr., who I was proud every time he called me cuz, represented by Edith Birch K. Wood.
Louis Donaldson III, represented by his daughter, Janice Donaldson Goddard. Clarence Day, Jane Jones, C.R. Mason, and Myra Dreyfus. We ask the families of the posthumous founders to come to the stage once this luncheon is over in order to receive your award. We will accept the posthumous awards on behalf of founders who do not have representatives here today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Leadership Memphis is pleased to celebrate 40 years of pride and purpose by saluting 40 extraordinary men and women These phenomenal change makers have continued to give the best of themselves in numerous categories. Many have also overcome incredible challenges in pursuit of their goals. In doing so, they've inspired us to dream boundlessly, explore new pathways, and build bridges of hope and progress.
Within this outstanding group, we're also proud to recognize 10 young changemakers whose amazing accomplishments are proof that our city's future is in great hands. Individually and collectively, our changemakers are profiles in courage, leadership, and determination, and we proudly celebrate their achievements.
The 40 changemakers were selected in the categories of business, healthcare, arts, and education, and nonprofit community involvement. Leadership Memphis defines a changemaker as, quote, one who drives change by gathering knowledge, galvanizing resources, and using their considerable influence to facilitate change. A changemaker is also one who inspires change that impacts a base of people, either socially, educationally, economically, spiritually, or politically.
And at this time, we would like to begin by recognizing first the panel of judges who had the challenging task of selecting 40 changemakers, the 40 changemakers. The judges are Scott Fountain, Senior Vice President and Chief Development Officer for Baptist Memorial Healthcare Corporation, Beverly Cross of the Lillian and Maury Moss Chair of Excellence in Urban Education at the University of Memphis, Elizabeth Rouse, President and CEO of Arts Memphis, Dexter Muller, retiree of the Greater Memphis Chamber of Commerce, Pearson Crutcher, Executive Director of the Society of Entrepreneurs, and Brooke Jones, President of Soundcheck Young Professional Council.
And here to present the awards to our honorees are 10 outstanding Memphis area leaders. The presenters are, and presenters, we invite you to take your place on stage now as your names are called. Step up right here on the riser. The presenters are Scott Fountain, the Senior Vice President, Chief Development Officer at Baptist Healthcare Corporation, Percy Strong Jenkins, Senior Vice President, Senior Treasury Officer, Bank of America, Richie Manley Bowden, Community Volunteer, Cammie Wigington, Regional Business Director at Stay Well Health, Reggie Crenshaw, Principal at Crenshaw Associates.
Carl Sledwitz, CEO of Monogram Foods, Valerie Morris, President and CEO of Morris Marketing Group, Linda Lauer, Managing Director of CBiz, Rick Rager, Senior Executive Vice President and CFO of Regional One Health, and Jim Crone, Government and Corporate Relations at Train US.
And now we will recognize our 40 changemakers, and the awards will be presented in groups of 10. Also, please note that additional information on each one of the changemakers' accomplishments can be found in your program booklet. Our first 10 honorees are Calvin Anderson, retired Chief of Staff and Senior Vice President of Blue Cross Blue Shield. Calvin is also president of Clear Strategies Group, a public policy and healthcare consulting firm. Standing in for Calvin right now is his beautiful wife, Belinda Anderson. Ekundayo Bandeli, founder and executive director of Hattie Lou Theater. Ekundayo has developed Hattie Lou from a small community theater into a regional cultural institution with a $1.7 million budget. Ron Bells, president and CEO of Bells Enterprises, a major developer of hotels, retail, and commercial properties. The company's properties include our historic Peabody Hotel. Kathy Buckman Gibson, president and CEO of KGB Technologies, LLC, a woman-led chemistry supplier enterprise. Kathy's also board chair of First 8 Memphis, an entity of the Shelby County Early Childhood Education Plan. She is also the former chairperson of Buckman Laboratories. And Staley Cates, vice chairman of Southeastern Asset Management Incorporated, an independent global investment management firm.
Fred Davis, civil rights activist, business leader, and history maker. 52 years ago, he opened the Fred L. Davis Insurance Agency. He later became the first African American to serve as chairman of the Memphis City Council. Art Gilliam made history by becoming the first African American in Memphis and the entire Southeast to own a radio station when he purchased WLOK AM 1340. Rabbi Micah Greenstein is the 8th senior rabbi at Temple Israel's 165-year history and has served his congregation for nearly 3 decades. His commitment to serving the greater community is evident in his work with the Memphis Theological Seminary, the National Civil Rights Museum, the National Board of NAACP, and numerous other organizations. Carolyn Hardy, President and CEO of Chisholm Hardy Investments LLC, Henderson Worldwide Investments LLC, and Midogene Beverage Company. Pitt Hyde III. He created AutoZone in 1979 and led it to become the Fortune 500 company with more than $8 billion in annual sales. His business leadership has also shaped the Hyde Family Foundation, which focuses on improving the lives of all Memphians. He is the co-founder of Memphis Tomorrow and a founding board member of Leadership Memphis. Will the honorees now face the presenters? Will the honorees now face the audience? And audience, please salute this dynamic group of leaders whose efforts have transformed Memphis. As they return to their seats, we welcome our second group of change makers. Come on, let them hear it.
Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will now continue with our next group of change makers. Dr. Stan Hyland. During his 40-year tenure at the University of Memphis, Dr. Hyland served as professor and chair of the anthropology department and head of the School of Urban Affairs and Public Policy. Since retiring in 2015, he's continued his work in neighborhood revitalization. Fred Jones Jr., founder of the Southern Heritage Classic, an event that has a $21 million impact on Memphis and attracts 70,000 fans annually from across our country. Mary McDaniel is a philanthropist, community activist, retired FedEx executive, and past chair of the board for Southwest Tennessee Community College. She also chairs the Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis and oversees the Mary H. McDaniel Charitable Fund. Charles McVane, founder of the Peer Power Foundation, designed to help underserved public school students. Over 15 years, the program has tutored over 17,000 Shelby County students. Charles is also founder of the Big River Strategic Initiative and serves as the CEO and chairman of McVane Trading and Investments. Dr. Scott Morris, founder, CEO of Church Health in Memphis. Since its inception, Church Health has cared for over 70,000 patients and is the largest faith-based clinic of its type in our entire nation.
The Reverend Keith Norman. He serves as a pastor of the First Baptist Church, Broad Street. In addition to ministry, Dr. Norman is a catalyst for change in the Binghamton community by improving the economic conditions of its residents. He is also Vice President of Government Relations, Baptist Memorial Healthcare. Ms. Deanie Parker. Deanie provided leadership in resurrecting the Stax Museum of American Soul Music, the Stax Music Academy, and the Soulsville Charter School, where she served as president and CEO. She also established the Soulsville Foundation to fund the museum and academy. Mr. David Porter. David is internationally renowned as a songwriter, producer, legendary artist of Stax Records. Some of his successful songs include Soul Man and Hold On, I'm Coming. Fenton Wright will accept his award on behalf of David. Stephen Reynolds, President Emeritus and Senior Consultant of Baptist Memorial Healthcare Corporation. He previously served as President and CEO of Baptist Memorial Healthcare. Ladies and gentlemen, the first half-woman, half-computer brain, Beverly Robertson, first African-American to lead the Greater Memphis Chamber of Commerce in its 182-year history. Beverly is also the retired president of the National Civil Rights Museum. Would this group of change makers please turn and face the presenters? Now, please face the audience and take a bow. Join me in honoring this dynamic group of leaders whose efforts have driven success in Memphis. As they return to their seats, we welcome the third group of change makers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue our salute now with our next group of change makers. They are the Reverend Dr. Kenneth S. Robinson, President and CEO of United Way of the Mid-South, a graduate of Harvard Medical School and the Vanderbilt Divinity School. Dr. Robinson is well known for his leadership in ministry, medicine, and community outreach. Gail Rose, founder and CEO of EVS Corporation, a leading technology company. She's also an outstanding philanthropist and founder chairman of the Rose Family Foundations. In 2001, Gail led the effort to bring the NBA expansion team, the Vancouver Grizzlies, to become the Memphis Grizzlies. Gary Shorb, the former CEO of Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, who ensured patients of all backgrounds had access to quality health care. After retiring as CEO in 2017, Gary became the executive director of the Urban Child Institute. Apparently there's an imposter sitting in for Gary today. But as you know, Beverly, you don't look anything like Gary Shorb. The Urban Child Institute is a nonprofit organization that Gary now leads that promotes health care for children in the Mid-South. Standing in for Gary, the Memphis Chamber CEO, Beverly Robertson. And ladies and gentlemen, Frederick W. Smith, founder, chairman, and CEO of FedEx Corporation. Fred launched the original air-ground FedEx Express network in 1973. Today, FedEx is a $69 billion global enterprise with more than 450,000 team members worldwide. Fred was also a founder of Leadership Memphis. Representing Fred is his son, Richard Smith. Susan Stevenson, co-chairman and president of Independent Bank, a billion-dollar institution, second largest bank headquartered in Shelby County. Susan made history by becoming the first female bank chairman and CEO in Tennessee.
Henry Turley. Henry Turley is the founder of the Henry Turley Company, a real estate development company. Henry's work can be seen in the Harbortown and South Bluffs neighborhood, as well as revitalizations of Uptown and Central Station. There is no one standing in for Henry. Henry stands for Henry. Anita Vaughn, former CEO of Baptist Women's Hospital, who lifted women's health care in Memphis to a national level. She is also a registered nurse who continues to advocate for better health care for women and children. Jose Velasquez, founder and principal of the James Lee House, LLC, where he provides creative vision and operational leadership for the restoration of this national historic site. Previously, he served as vice president for the National Council of La Raza, the nation's largest Hispanic civil rights and advocacy organization. The Reverend Sonia Walker began her Memphis career in television as an administrator, editorial writer, and talk show host at WHBQ-TV. She started a counseling center at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church and was later called to First Congregational Church as associate pastor. Reverend Walker was also a founder of Leadership Memphis. Spence L. Wilson. Spence Wilson is chairman of the board for Kemmons Wilson's Companies, LLC, and a real estate development and investment firm in Memphis. He also serves as director of the Kemmons Wilson Family Foundation, is married to my dearest friend, Becky. Will the honorees now face the presenters? And now, will the honorees face the audience? And please help us salute these leaders committed to making Memphis a better place. As they return to their seats, we welcome our third group of change makers.
Ladies and gentlemen, our final group of change makers represent a slate of amazing, rising leaders who are already driving positive change through their vision, courage, creativity, and influence. Our young change makers are Trey Carter, founder of the Olympic Career Training Institute, a logistics and distributional vocational school here in Memphis. Daryl Cobbins, founder and Universal Commercial Real Estate, LLC, a licensed real estate firm. He's also the 9th Congressional District Representative of the state of Tennessee's Board of Education. Adam Crewthirds. Adam is a cancer survivor and founder of Adam's Army, which supports St. Jude Children's Research Hospital's ongoing fight against cancer. This year, Adam will be a senior at Rhodes College. Marlon Foster, founder of Knowledge Quest, a program designed to help youth and families maximize their potential through education, health, and opportunity. He's also founder of Christ Quest Community Church. Mecca Egweke, co-founder, executive director of Code Crew, a Memphis-based nonprofit specializing in youth computer science programs.
Whitney Hardy, founder and executive director of Young Arts Patrons, a dynamic platform that is advancing contemporary ideas, conversations, and engagement around the fine arts. Michael Hooks Jr., CEO of All World Project Management. His company has managed such notable projects as the I Am a Man Plaza and the MLK Reflection Park. Victoria Jones, founder of Collective, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing a platform for African American artists. Victoria is being represented by her very proud, looking like cousin, but that's her daddy, William Billy Jones. Yancy Villa Calvo, creator of Go Engage Memphis Soul, a program that applies art as an engagement tool for neighborhood planning and development. And Lauren Wilson Young. Lauren is the founder of Sweet Lala's Bakery. Lauren's unique bakery is also a social enterprise focused on giving workplace opportunities to disadvantaged youth right here in Memphis. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like for the honorees to please face their presenters. And now, honorees, would you turn around? Hi, Trey. And let the audience join me. Ladies and gentlemen, please give another round of applause for the 40 change makers who are contributing to the greatness of our city. Let's thank our group as they exit and take their seat.
All right, thank you, presenters. Please find your way back to your seats. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're extremely pleased to introduce our keynote speaker for this momentous day. Richard W. Smith is President and Chief Executive Officer of Memphis-based FedEx Logistics, a global logistics organization providing a wide variety of specialty supply chain, trade, and transportation solutions. Richard joined FedEx in 2005, and prior to his current role, he was Senior Vice President, Global Trade and Specialty Services for FedEx Express. His FedEx career also includes a series of leadership positions in life sciences, healthcare, and consumer solutions, including serving as Vice President of Global Trade Services and Managing Director, Life Sciences and Specialty Services.
Richard is currently the chairman of the Greater Memphis Chamber of Commerce. He serves on its Chairman's Circle board. He is also a board member of Launch Tennessee, the Coalition of Services Industries, and the Epicenter Memphis, a nonprofit organization that supports new and existing community entrepreneurs. Richard earned his undergraduate degree from George Washington University and his Juris Doctorate from, I never knew, University of Mississippi School of Law. Please join us in welcoming the President and CEO of FedEx Logistics, Mr. Richard Smith.
Thanks so much. Thank you. I appreciate that very kind introduction. I've done a lot of interesting jobs at FedEx and worked with a lot of these great characters here in the front row. So it's been an exciting journey, and it's been my privilege to be your chairman of your Greater Memphis Chamber. And I want to thank you for having me here today. It's an honor to be here in front of so many of the inaugural class of 40 change makers who've made such a difference in this city on the 40th anniversary of Leadership Memphis's inception. It's quite an accomplished group, as you heard before, and I know my father, Fred Smith, is deeply honored to be a part of this group, in addition to counting himself among its original founders, and he's sorry he can't be here today. I'm going to start with a message that is incredibly simple, but also quite profound. It is a message that was instilled in me at an early age by my father, and one that I think about nearly every single day. It applies directly to the people in this room, and it is the reason we're here today. That message is simply this: leadership matters. Leadership mattered when the founders of Leadership Memphis had the passion and the foresight all those years ago to form this important organization at a time when our city, as you heard, was still attempting to heal and come to grips with the killing of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., himself a visionary leader if ever there was one. Let's take a moment to recognize all the past and present members one more time, and the supporters of Leadership Memphis as well, because you're the ones we're counting on to continue to drive change in this city. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Leadership comes in many forms. Leadership mattered when Fred Smith created a startup then called Federal Express in April of 1973. At the time, the largest venture capital startup in history, and far from a sure bet way back then, I can assure you. In fact, that first night, there were only 14 Dassault Falcon airplanes, less than 300 employees, and card tables set up in a warehouse to manually sort the pitifully small number of packages. Less than 200. We've come a long way. Leadership continues to matter at the company today, now called FedEx, the largest private employer in the city and the state, employing more than 450,000 people worldwide and more than 30,000 here in the Mid-South. It is a company that has a community investment strategy called FedEx Cares that collaborates with trusted NGOs and nonprofit organizations to make meaningful and lasting impacts all over the world, and especially right here in Memphis, Tennessee. FedEx provides leadership across this community in ways too numerous to list, but here's a few examples. While we operate in 220 countries and territories around the world and contribute in many of those communities, here we contribute over $13 million annually to Memphis-based nonprofits that are important to the city and to our team members. We invest in supporting critical improvements in education, economic development, public safety, and quality of life in various ways. We support Memphis-based nonprofits both through funding and team member volunteer efforts such as Le Bonheur FedEx Family House for out-of-town families with children receiving treatment at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. St. Jude, everyone knows what St. Jude does. And of course, we're bringing the World Golf Championship here this summer, which we think will be highly exciting. The Women's Foundation of Greater Memphis, uniting women and helping break the cycle of poverty through philanthropy, leadership, and collaboration. Shelby Farms Park, 4,500 acres, I should say, of green space and 10.7 miles of urban trail, a community treasure unrivaled in size and potential anywhere in the United States. The New Memphis Institute, forging a prosperous, vital New Memphis by attracting, developing, activating, and retaining key talent for the future of our city. Epicenter and inner-city capital connections to help local entrepreneurs and minority and women-owned businesses get the support they need to compete, scale, and grow their businesses. And the list goes on and on. We aim to lead by example, which is simply another of the many ways that the right leadership can make such a huge difference in creating and maintaining momentum within any community or organization. If not for leadership, FedEx would not be here today. And I'm not just talking about Fred Smith's leadership, but also the civic leadership that was in place that supported the idea of Federal Express. My father often cites the willingness of our airport authority under Ned Cook at the time to work with him and be a great partner in the endeavor as one of the three major factors that led him to start the company here. The other two being geography, of course, and weather. But make no mistake about it, business climate mattered as much as the physical climate. And somewhere along the line, I do feel like we lost our way to some degree as a community, at least in that regard. Things became stagnant, and again, I'll keep coming back to the same point. These aren't accidents. When things are going right or wrong, the story is the same. Leadership matters. This is a city that served as the birthplace of the first self-service grocery store and the birthplace of rock and roll. Memphis, Tennessee changed how we buy auto parts and car accessories and gave the world absolutely positively overnight shipping, changing supply chains not only in the United States, but all over the planet. We were a hotbed for startups and innovation once in a variety of fields. Yet somewhere along the way, we stalled. Our problems as we saw them became too great. Blight, crime, poverty. We can't be a great city if we have those things. Forget that so many other cities struggle with the same problems, many cities we compete with. We became very inwardly focused, in my view, I would even say defeatist as a community. I started to feel this very acutely around the time I went off to college in the mid-90s. And to be perfectly honest, I seriously doubted that I'd return to Memphis to make it my home. But I'm very glad that I did, because this is a magical place. It's big enough to be exciting, but still tightly connected enough that anyone can make a difference. And after being home for a while, after finishing law school at Ole Miss, Rose, Merle, and starting my career at FedEx, I started to feel some momentum in the air. Long before we started talking about it as a community, which seems to be a very recent development, trademark Jim Strickland, I don't know if he's here, but something started to change in the zeitgeist here in Memphis, Tennessee. We developed a chip on our shoulder and decided that nobody from outside of Memphis could knock Memphis anymore. You might even say we reclaimed our sense of pride in our city and our community. So what changed exactly? Well, after thinking about this long and hard, I have to give credit where credit is due. You never know where community leadership will come from. And the fathers of that shift in mindset, as I see it, were not the business or political leaders. Nope, I credit 4 athletes for our newfound sense of pride and optimism. Those athletes being the Grizzlies' core 4, Mike Conley, Mark Gasol, Zach Randolph, and the grindfather himself and one-time Memphis Airport spokesman, Tony Allen. But there was something magical, was there not, about those back-to-back playoff seasons and those players and the style of play which came to be known as grit and grind. When Zach Randolph, Zebo to those of us who love the guy, adopted this city in such a profound and public way, stating, "I love this city. They love me back." And it's a blue-collar town, and I'm a blue-collar player, a hard worker. Nothing's been given easily to this town. Nothing's been given easily to me. It's a fit. At that moment, I instantly felt it. And when TA coined the phrase, "It's just all heart, grit and grind," after a thrilling victory, I knew we had our mojo back. Memphians once again wanted to win. We wanted to believe. We wanted to believe Memphis, right? So that to me was a pivotal turning point, no lie. It's part of what made me want to get involved in the community in a more profound way. It made me hold my head a little higher when talking about Memphis, as though I was suddenly an ambassador for this town anywhere I went. Hell, we all were after that, right? And the key ingredient in that formula, leadership. Once again, it matters. Those guys were not only leaders on the court, but in our community. They got so involved, it was very heartwarming and inspiring to see all the great things they did. And I think, unbeknownst to us, we started to capitalize on that momentum a little bit. We had a little more swagger. And hopefully, good times on the NBA front are coming. How about the number 2 pick we've got coming up, right? Go Grizz. And speaking of basketball, how about Penny and the Tigers? Number 1 recruiting class in the country. See? Leadership. It matters. Penny's doing something special there, building his brand, and it's resonating with these kids. And it's going to be really exciting because we're a basketball town. So having our mojo back, I think, on the basketball court is as important as having it back off the court. Now, at the same time that this mindset shift was occurring here, we also had the state of Tennessee doing some things and creating a great environment for business investment and innovation, as evidenced by Nashville's unprecedented growth. That town and Austin, Texas, represent 2 of the mid-sized cities in this country, bucking the alarming trend of all the high-paying jobs going to the major metros, which is a real concern, especially when it comes to tech sector jobs. Those 2 communities are thriving, perhaps too fast if their traffic and real estate costs are any indication. My brother lives up there. He's the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, by the way. Tighten up. And he complains quite a bit about the traffic. But their challenges, of course, represent Memphis's opportunity right now, and we must continue to seize upon it or be left behind like so many smaller communities across the United States of America, across the planet even, as urbanization continues to accelerate in already highly dense cities. Essentially, it's grow or die time, people. I've said it before, and I'll say it again here today. I can be a bit like a broken record in that regard. I'm very growth-focused. But did you know that since International Paper announced its headquarters consolidation here back in 2005, we didn't have a single headquarters project announced for Memphis for over a decade? Until last year and into this one, when we had 4. Mimeo, Indigo Ag, J&J Logistics, and FedEx Logistics, the company I run, as we consolidate our headquarters functions into what will be one awesome campus downtown right near the FedEx Forum. Wait, make that 5. I'm sorry, I missed one. We just landed Pandrol, a French company, about a week ago. So we're still going strong on the momentum front into 2019 in terms of recruiting jobs and headquarters. So what changed exactly? I'd say it was leadership and intentionality on our part as a community to work together, a recognition that we had to attract business investment and high-wage jobs, not just demand them. It was all of us in the public and private sectors, nonprofits, everyone coming together and saying Memphis is open for business. We have to create density and wealth here in order to address our bigger community problems. It's the only path forward I can see, and we are actually doing it for the first time in a long time. I think we're getting there. I really do. We just need to keep our foot on the gas pedal and keep grinding, as TA would say. We need our leaders to continue to work across the political aisle here, and with the private sector leadership to continue moving the needle and propelling the city forward. Make no mistake about it, this is a pivotal time in our history for all the reasons I just stated. And leadership matters now more than ever if we don't want to be left behind. Because we do have some people thinking we're playing a little too much offense. We're shooting the ball too much as a team. Just to give you a little perspective, in 2017, Nashville's GDP growth, real GDP growth, was over 4%. Ours was 0.4%. So we've made some shots. I'm not trying to bring the party down. We've won some games. We are doing some good things. I think we need to keep running this high-tempo offense for a little while longer so we can become the next IT city right behind our sister city in Nashville. I firmly believe that is achievable for Memphis, Tennessee. And thank you. And the good news is that all of you here in this room are a part of Leadership Memphis in some capacity. Your supporters, your honorees, you've gone through the program, your founders. So right off the bat, you've made the first critical step and decided to be part of the solution. This organization is all about connecting, preparing, and mobilizing the leaders of tomorrow. It's about making the conscious choice to be a leader in your family, your neighborhood, your community, the broader city, or even beyond. And the leaders of tomorrow are what I'm interested in today. My day as a leader will come and go. The sun will set on it, just as it will on my father's day before then. Though hopefully not for some time, as the man still has more drive and stamina at 74 years old than anyone I know. I'm 41 and honestly scrambling to keep up with him at times. But just as we think about succession planning very deeply at FedEx, I think it's incumbent upon any of us who occupy a position of leadership, formal or informal, to constantly be looking for the next group of leaders who can carry the torch. I mentioned that a lot of the nonprofits we work with at FedEx earlier, and one of my favorites is Epicenter. I'm deeply proud of Epicenter and the work they do as it spun out of one of the Chamber's Chairman's Circle Moon missions. We recruited Leslie Smith to our community, another wonderful leader who works with great local leaders like Andre Folks and many others. Epicenter's sole purpose is to serve as the front door for Memphis area entrepreneurs into the entrepreneurial ecosystem of available capital, mentoring, training, and networking opportunities. To date, it's helped over 500 local enterprises start or scale their businesses. We at FedEx support their efforts because, as mentioned, once upon a time, we were a startup too. So to bring things full circle, as a program that identifies and provides support for local entrepreneurs, Epicenter is also actively cultivating that next generation leaders that I'm talking about and creating new companies along the way. Just like FedEx, the city of Memphis was once a startup, a small river town with some geographic and transportation advantages comprised of hardworking and hard-living people. The Bluff City grew and thrived, and it certainly saw many ups and downs throughout history. In fact, Memphis has been called the soul of America. It is, as it has seen both the highs and lows of civilization in its day. But I am quite certain we are on the rise again. And all of you can help as we continue to fuel that rise. I've described you as the leaders of tomorrow and the leaders of today, and there are many more leaders out there in this community who aren't in attendance today. So if you take nothing else away from what I've said today, take this. Spread the word, choose to be a leader. To keep this economic progress going, to continue growing our way out of the cycle of poverty we've been mired in, we need each and every one of you to be an evangelist for Memphis, to grit and grind towards unlocking our potential and making it the shining city on the bluff we all know it can be, a fair community with greater opportunity and prosperity for all. So to all of you as change makers, I say that the people of Memphis and our city's future are depending on you now more than ever, because just like it always has, leadership matters. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of Leadership Memphis, David Williams.
We're still yielding to Richard Smith here. Richard Smith. Leadership matters, and I didn't bring a towel. Oh, gee. Okay. Well, listen, thank you again, Richard. You know, in putting this event together, I've seen the accomplishment-filled bios. I've read the historical accounts. I've heard the stories. Oh, have I heard the stories of people who've graduated from Leadership Memphis in their class experience. I've heard from founders, change makers, many in this room, and those all across Memphis, and in fact, some around the country. All the ideas, the planning, the implementation, the success and failures that became successes, the time, energy, and effort. How are we just not all completely, absolutely worn out? I mean, everything that has gone into making this city so terrific. But there's another word I think about, and that is inspired. I think about being inspired. I think about looking at what's been accomplished over the last 200, the last 40, the last 2 years, and then I start to imagine what will be accomplished in the next 2 years and 40 years and even the next 200 years. Can you even begin to imagine that? So many great things that have been done, so many great things left to do. Great things, great cities don't just happen. As Richard said, it takes great leadership. Leadership matters. Great cities need great leaders, it's true, but where do they come from? Yes, they come from the business sector, they come from nonprofit, government, neighborhood, faith, families. They come from all corners of our community. Yes, all corners of our community. We call them civic leaders, we call them community leaders. Some we call friends, some we call strangers, but we're all in it together. Say it with me now, we are all in it where? Together. One more time. We're all in it what? Together. Thank you. And while some are academically trained professionals, most do on-the-job training. Many of our elected officials, board members, the volunteers that do so much to make our city a better place, they're oftentimes learning on the job. Some do make a calculated choice. They choose to go through a civic leadership accelerator program like Leadership Memphis. Organizations like Leadership Memphis are crucial to building a bridge of civic leaders who can tackle any challenge, obstacle, or issue that this community might face, and we can face them together. Let me hear you say it with me. Together. All major cities have these organizations: Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, Denver, as do neighboring municipalities and counties. Leadership Germantown, Bartlett, Collierville, Millington, Tipton, Fayette, DeSoto counties. And why do we need all these programs? Why do we matter? It's very simple. You don't know what you don't know. The more you know, the more relationships that we build, the more networks that we have working together to accomplish great things, we can, in fact, have a great city, a great county, and a great metro area, and we should never settle for anything but great. We deserve great. It's not that much further than okay or good. It's just another few steps to great. Leadership Memphis has 3 focus areas for the future. We've done the research. We know what our alumni tell us. We know what people in the community who are familiar with us say. And those 3 areas for the future: leadership, volunteering, and networking. And it's not just those 3, it is doing those 3 for impact. So your investment today in our new Founders Innovation Fund will elevate all 3 of those focus areas and then some. And there's a brief description of the Founders Fund in your program. In fact, I can tell you that thanks to your support of today's 40th Anniversary Innovation Luncheon, that our Innovation Fund has raised a net of $200,000. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me share just a few final thoughts with you. Today, as we are looking forward for Leadership Memphis and building off the Innovation Fund, the Founders Fund, I'm announcing that Leadership Memphis, in partnership with Leadership Tennessee and the University of Memphis, in October of 2019, will produce our first Leadership Innovation Summit. And that theme will be the impact of artificial intelligence on community. And it will feature Dr. David Edelman from MIT, as well as a number of faculty members from the University of Memphis who are working in that really, really dynamic space of artificial intelligence. Under volunteering, I'm announcing today that in 2020, we will be producing the amazing Memphis Bike Build. It'll be one major event in partnership with F&H Solutions. And if you can just imagine this room, from that wall to that wall to this wall, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of corporate and other organizations, teams, building bikes to give to young kids across our community. Hundreds of bikes, and it's gonna be fabulous. And under networking, under networking, we are working on our Networking for Impact series, and we will have some details to follow shortly. Meanwhile, there's an even more immediate future. We have an executive class that's beginning in August, and we have a fast track class that's beginning in September. And we need your help to identify the leaders who need to be placed in those programs so that we can continue to crank out great community and civic leaders to make Memphis that much greater. My hope is that today's event has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the work known as Leadership Memphis was worthy of investment 40 years ago, it was worthy of your investment today, and it is worthy of your investment as we move into the future. Our North Star at Leadership Memphis is a quote from Dr. King. You may recall that was really part of the impetus of the founding of Leadership Memphis, the assassination of Dr. King. So he left us with a quote, which is, "I cannot be all I ought to be until you are all you ought to be." I cannot be all I ought to be until you are all you ought to be. And the thousands upon thousands of accomplishments from our Leadership Memphis alumni are a testament to that. Yeah, when somebody asks me, what does Leadership Memphis do? I just start pointing to the great work of our alumni all across this community. They deserve the credit, they did the work, they deserve the recognition, but I'd like to think that some little piece of Leadership Memphis is in the work that they're doing, and I'd like to think it ties back to, I cannot be all I ought to be until you are all you ought to be. I need now your help because you've been sitting a long time, and we're going to work on something together, right? So I'm going to divide this room into two parts, and we're going to make, this is one side, and this is the other side, okay? So this side, everybody gets one word to say, and that word is thank. This side, everybody gets another word, and that word is you. And so I'm going to be the orchestrator, kind of like Mike Conley, the maestro, right? The conductor. So I'm going to be doing the thank you. So when I do over here, thank. When I do over there, you. We got it? Let's practice one time. Here we go. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Let's thank some people. Let's thank our presenting sponsor, FedEx, as well as all the other corporate and table sponsors. Let's thank our co-chairs, Shannon and Julie, the 40th Anniversary Host Committee, all of our volunteers, our MCs, Joe and Merle, our program participants, especially Richard Smith. Thank you. Woo, you're doing great. Let's thank some Leadership Memphis Board of Directors and all the past board chairs, past board members, and our hardworking Leadership Memphis staff. We want to thank Chris O'Connor and Prodigy Arts that did our fabulous video, the wonderful Gary Goen Band, Morris Marketing Group, Good Show LLC, Trust Marketing, and our fabulous executive producer, Beverly Robertson. And we want to obviously thank our Leadership Memphis founders and our 40 change makers. I cannot thank you all enough for what you've done for our community. It's an amazing, amazing feat. and we all are going to together and say, perfect, perfect. And I want to thank all of you for celebrating our 40th anniversary and being here today. And we're just going to join together and say, thank you. Thank you. We now have one final thing, and I'm going to need you to give a very warm Memphis welcome for someone new to our community, the new Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Memphis, Reverend Phoebe Rofe. Phoebe.
Let me just take a moment of personal privilege. I have been the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of West Tennessee for 2 weeks and 2 days. So thank you to the organizers of this phenomenal event. What a great opportunity for me to learn so much about the movers and the shakers here in the greater metropolitan Memphis area. And I certainly look forward to partnering with you all in mission and ministry in the years to come. Now, before I deliver the benediction, I've been told that there are a couple of special presentations to be made, and so I would like to invite Julie and Shannon to please come forward.
As the co-chairs of this event, we are the only two that know what is about to happen. So there are some special awards, and I want to start with one to our presenting sponsor. It is a very deep privilege for me as an alum of FedEx to provide this gift and this thank you to our presenting sponsor, FedEx. And to receive it, I think it's only appropriate that my co-chair, Shannon Brown, accept it.
Well, thank you, Julie, and thank all the great leaders here within this room and all the great work that we've done to make Memphis a great city. I agree with my partner, Richard Smith. We're on the road, folks. We're going to make this happen, and FedEx is going to be right there with you. Thank you very much. And I have a special award for an individual. We talked about a lot of leaders in this city, and we forget to talk about the faith in this great city and all the great churches. My friends come all over the world and they visit Memphis. They say we have some wonderful facilities, cathedrals, and churches, and synagogues. And we have a lot of people who are ministers that we recognize today. We have a few that are waiting to get called. And this individual is awaiting his call. The executive director of Leadership Memphis, David Williams.
Thank you. Hey, listen, you know, I've had the privilege of serving with Leadership Memphis. I'm starting my 16th year, and just want to say thank you. It's been a blessing, and we're going to have 40 more great years. I won't make it that long, but there'll be 40 more, I assure you. Thank you so much.
We have one final award that is probably the most deserving of anyone here. And there is a woman behind every successful endeavor. I can say that because it's not me. But there is an executive producer of this event who's also the head of the Memphis Chamber, who's also been head of everything in this community. And we call on Beverly Robertson. Would you come forward?
What the heck?
you know, it's rare that I am speechless. You know that, if you know me. But it has been one of the great pleasures to be able to salute and recognize the tremendous number of individuals. And frankly, we had such a big list that it was a challenge, but the judges did a good job. But I want to salute and congratulate and thank the wonderful honorary co-chairs and David for thinking that I could do something like that. And I told David, I said, David, the folks at the museum really never worried as much as you do. But I think he has become a believer. Where's Pitt? Is Pitt around here? Did he leave? Okay. I was going to tell Pitt to give David a little bit of advice in the future. But thank you all very much. You know I love Memphis. And just watch and see what the Chamber will do this year. I think you will be pleased because you will all be a part of the success. Thank you very much.
And now please help us welcome Bishop Rowe.
So now for our closing benediction, please stand. Let us go forth into the world in peace, dedicated to your service, O Lord. We give you thanks for 40 years of service to the greater metropolitan Memphis area by the board, staff, and alumni of Leadership Memphis. Grant that as we leave this place, all of us may be inspired to continue to work for justice and peace for all who live, work, and play in this great city. Make us reverent in the use of freedom, just in our exercise of power, and compassionate in our concern and care for the weak. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace this day and forevermore. And together we all say, Amen.